Game number 3 is what we could want. It's getting underway right now. Powder needs to take an advantage of this series and close it out. Keep putting up wins on the board, still not out of it yet.
It looks like we got a little bit of a mirror match here, and Powder's got what? Okay, so this rotates in and out a lot, but mind control tech, we've been seeing this pop up a little bit more lately.
And against a player like Greensheep, I don't mind this choice. You know, he's liable to play a deck that will get 4 or 5 minions out and play pretty darn early. And the mind control tech can give you the swing you need to keep that on your side of the board.
Yeah, Greensheep's got the most important card in the matchup too.
Yeah, Wild Growth is a beating. Well, now they both got Wild Growth. And these are pretty decent opening hands. I think Powder's is just slightly better right now.
Because of Pilot Shredder?
Yes, the Pilot Shredder really making a big difference here.
And then he gets the curve into Druid of the Claw as well.
Yeah, well, not only that, but Greensheep's hand is, outside of the Shade Next Rhombus, it's kind of lacking in action.
Okay, does he ever coin Wild Growth here? Because, you know, Mind Control Tech, there's not a good chance that it steals something here, and then you get to go 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I mean, what else is going to get value out of it?
Yeah, because like where does he punish you for making a 3/3 here? He just has to have Wrath, but then he doesn't Wild Growth, right?
Yeah, Greensheep's hand just got a lot better with that Druid of the Claw.
Yes. It's like, you have a Wild Growth? I have a Wild Growth.
Yep. Raise.
Raise.
So we're off to the races, and Greensheep's is a little bit slower than Powder's is at the moment, but still not too shabby. You could never, ever be sad about a Shaded Next Rhombus on an empty board.
I'm always sad about it because they just never do anything for me.
Just never. You have to attack with them, Tannen. You know,
oh, okay. That's what they're there for.
That makes a lot of sense.
You know, it really does, actually.
So Greensheep, a little bit of a sticky situation. I mean,
yeah, he's kind of flooding out a little bit here. You know, this Innervate, unless he draws something really good over the next turn or two, it's just going to be a dead draw in this game. You know, maybe he has a big turn because of it, but as of right now, not looking that way.
Yeah, Druid of the Claw and Taunt, it's okay here, but it feels bad to have a Pilot Shredder just be running straight into it.
Yeah, do you just run your Pilot Shredder and shock this guy? Yeah, I think that's what you do for sure. Oh, speaking of the devil, there's my boy.
Gilblin Stalker. Gosh,
He heard me talking about him, he had to show up.
Yeah. Second Druid of the Claw, not a bad one.
It's a little late to the party, you know, you want to be turn 2 in that guy, or turn 1 in that guy, but...
Now with Greensheep having seen a Keeper of the Grove, is there any chance he's pulling this out of stealth?
I think, yeah. I mean, does he have to right now? Just Druid of the Claw?
No, he certainly doesn't.
Taunt mode is...
You never have to do anything, I
guess, it's just so good on this board, though. I mean, Powder's going to a 6-mana turn. I guess he does still have the coin, you know, but just got to hope it's not something like Dr. Boom.
I mean, he's going to take the value he can get from it now. At the end of the day, that will start to even up the score a little bit.
You know, I don't mind him doing that because, again, it's turn 6 and 7 where if you make them use like 2 mana to Wrath here, then their turn becomes weird. You know, they don't get to, you curve out perfectly here because turn 6 and 7 is usually so good for Druid when they have the coin.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's really looking at here is how does he make this turn awkward for Powder? And the Shade was the answer. We see this time and again from professional players. They're trying to do things that occupy their opponent's mana in awkward ways. Yep, so he's just going to keep the board even right now. So Greensheep, if he picks up a minion, going to have a major initiative. But his hand right now is empty. He has to draw a big minion here.
It's almost like Powder has the exact read on Greensheep's hand here. He just knows that his hand is like Keeper of the Grove and some blanks. Ooh, second swipe. Not a good one.
Yeah, Greensheep is looking bad in this game suddenly. Your opponent at 27, it doesn't make a lot of sense to Keeper of the Grove in this spot to get pressure out.
Yeah, it's just not enough.
Yeah, and the swipes, they just have to sit in hand.
But here's the thing. What are you holding the Keeper back for, though?
Just extra damage?
Yeah, just some burst damage of some kind. But yeah, I don't mind him playing it because honestly, like, you're hoping to be using your mana over the next couple turns. You're hoping to draw something like Ancient of Lore. And
yeah, if you don't draw that, you're going to likely be losing anyway.
You're likely be losing anyway, exactly. So you just get this 2/4 body.
This is one of the, I mean, you just walked right into it, basically. There's not a better turn here from Powder, unless he thinks Black Knight's a possibility. I mean, maybe he just wants some more options as well.
Yeah, I think just drawing 2 cards here. I mean, you're under no real pressure here.
What 2 cards they were?
Greensheep can take care of this with a swipe, plus a hero power if he wants, but then he can't play Piloted Shredder.
He's at the Innervate. You know, when is he getting a better turn for Innervate?
No, you're right, yeah. I kind of forgot about the Innervate for a second. I just missed it. The swipe was kind of covering it up.
Yeah. The big story here is that Powder's going to be able to really fortify his position and start to muck this board up. That Ancient of Lore is, I'm sorry, the Ancient of War is just going to be massive on this board. Greensheep has to invest so much into it to kill it.
I mean, yeah, 5/10, taunt. Pretty big.
Yeah, here you go.
He's also got combo in his hand now as well. So if he doesn't kill this Ancient of War, a lot of damage.
Looking at 21. Cheap. Oh, gosh.
The old turn 9 draw wild, or 9 mana draw wild growth.
I think he's pretty
great.
He's pretty likely to force nature here. Just doesn't have room to make other plays.
Yeah, if he uses swipe, he just has to give up his entire board. And when Ancient of War is good, it's
that's why people play the card.
Yeah.
When it's bad, it's bad. But when it's good, it is great. Like it pulls a ton of weight, which is why you're seeing it cycle back into the metagame. There's also just very little room for Black Knight in most decks anymore. You know, when the card pool was a lot smaller, that was a staple card. But how can you fit it into decks now?
Yeah, that's one of that card we haven't seen that much, if at all, this entire season. Yeah, the old
Powder matches his turn 9 wild growth draw.
His hand texture is a little different than Greensheep's though.
Yeah, when you have 8 cards in hand, it's usually a little bit better.
Explain.
Well, you see Tannen, he gets a 4/6 Druid of the Claw and a Loatheb, which is going to shut off a lot of Greensheep's utility.
That was well explained, Nathan. Thank you.
14, 24, 28 damage I count for Powder next turn. No, I counted wrong. 23, 27 damage. Yep, no attacks here from Greensheep. Sludge Belcher gets added to hand. It's getting pretty close to that mind control tech. If you had like a Leroy Jenkins here.
If you could just give him a minion
Yeah,
somehow.
here's some whelps.
Hungry Dragon.
Oh, Hungry Dragon mind control tech. That's actually pretty cool.
We broke it. We broke it. We did it, Reddit.
Someone's building the deck right now.
Yeah, they're like, they're like trying to get up a ladder.
I did it first.
Yeah. Did it first.
You have favorable trades here, but does Greensheep have favorable trades? This is really what I'm looking at on this board.
I think he's just trying to decide if he just wants to force a Nature Savage War this turn and just get in a bunch.
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. You do get an extra 4 points of damage. He also could use the Force Nature Savage War to cripple Greensheep's position and keep his lead.
Yeah, I mean, he just knows Greensheep's hand can't be amazing. Greensheep does have Ancient of Lore, though. Powder's taking his time here. Don't mind it.
Force where it is. And so this is the big moment here. Do you push this damage or do you clean up this board?
Looks like he's going to take care of some of the board here.
Yeah, I don't mind this. Again, it's sacrificing a lot of damage, but look at the lead he's keeping. He's dealing 13 and he has 9 uncontested.
Plus he's got a Sludge Belcher and a Keeper of the Grove behind him. He's got so much checked from here.
Yeah, mind control tech not getting the value of this game, but
I'll say Dr. Boom would be not terrible here, but he's still so far behind.
yeah, it's tough to climb back from this.
Yeah, I mean, he has a Swipe and a Wrath in his hand, but he can't take care of both of these minions. And then he doesn't develop his board any, so he's in the same problem again next turn.
Yep, too many blank minions this game. Is heal for 5 a viable option? I feel like you're just going to fall out of the game if you do that.
All right, so if you draw 2, he's got 9 on the board, plus 10. Like, yeah, what do you draw that even keeps you in it? Like, Innervate's not even good because if you swipe, it still doesn't do anything. He's cycling a Wrath here.
That's what it looks like.
Buys him time. Maybe he just swipes here and tries to repair next turn with Sludge Belcher Harrison Jones. Better hurry up, Greensheep.
I don't think it's an unreasonable option. I think it's actually pretty good.
All right.
Playing it first also, it basically accomplishes the same goal, you know?
Yeah.
This way you actually alleviate a little bit more mana. Say he draws a 6-drop that he wants to play instead.
Well, this Keeper of the Grove
Speaking of 6-drops.
is going to do some work. You have to believe he just Keeper of the Grove's here,
I
right?
think this is Silent Sign Emperor. Gonna think through it though. Again, this has been a big talking point for Powder. I'm glad to see that he is slowing down.
Yeah, we've seen him play pretty fast this season, and as we mentioned, there was that one turn where he might have played a little too fast. You know, and if you miss the playoffs by half a game, you got to think back on that.
Yep, he's drawing the same conclusion. The damage is just too much right now.
Yeah, it's just too good.
I wonder if he's thinking at all about mind control tech as well. Like, he has it in his hand. Is that,
Yeah.
you know, when you see it in your own hand, it's like, I almost feel like it's influencing the possibility you think your opponent has it.
Yeah. It's the worst when you, like, don't play around a card and you lose to it, and then it's in your hand, you know?
Greensheep, once again, just under so much pressure, and not any reasonable drops on this board.
Yeah, I mean,
one mana off.
Yeah, he could swipe take care of 2 minions here, but what does that really do? He's still facing down Emperor's Orson and a Druid of the Claw with no way to. I mean, he could play a Harrison Jones, but then.
Well, he's going to fight it out. I mean, he's not completely out of it yet. Powder still needs a little bit more damage, but Greensheep hanging on by a thread for now. Powder has a couple draws that close this. That's not one of them. How about chance number 2?
Swipe gets it done.
Savage Roar,
Savage
Force
Roar
of
gets it
Nature,
done.
Druid of the Claw.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Powder's going to take a 2-1 lead here over Greensheep. Stayed ahead the entire game. And despite that having the dead card in his hand with the mind control tech, Greensheep's draws in the middle of the game just had too many turns where not enough action was happening.
Yeah. Big win for Powder as well, fighting for his playoff life, fighting to keep his season alive. You know, just continues to slow down, take his time, play well, and get the wins here.